Hello and welcome to this review of my Zenith Data Systems Z-150, both versions. Yup, this is a dual review because there are two versions of this keyboard which are pretty closely related, but I'll point out the differences between them as well. For the majority of the review I'll be using both keyboards interchangeably though. There is an XT version, which is this one, and a later AT version, which is this one, although the two had a very large manufacturer overlap. Both versions date from the late 80s. Although usually neither the XT protocol nor the AT one are very hard to adapt to modern computers, ironically both of these keyboards posed problems. The XT version makes use of the reset pin, which is otherwise often unused on XT keyboards, so some commercial converters such as this Sora's don't work with it. Instead I got a separate converter off of Orialcon for use with it. The AT version uses the AT protocol, and again commercial converters don't work with it, which really surprised me at first. However, if you plug it into a PS2 port, which requires a simple $1 AT to PS2 adapter, it works just fine. I got the XT one first, but even though it looks extremely clean, I mean sure it's yellowed, but for fuck's sake look how clean that plate is. Yet it's electrically buggered and the switches are extremely scratchy for some unclear reason. So then later I got the AT version no old stock off of eBay, and I had a small heart attack when this one appeared to not work as well. But now I got it working over PS2 and this one is smooth and works flawlessly and it's fucking magnificent. Slightly later, but again with very large manufacturer overlap, Zenith supplied their systems with the AT-XT switchable ZKB2, which is the keyboard I use at work incidentally. Zenith Data Systems was a company that had very large contracts with the US government and military, and this is reflected in their build quality as all Zenith keyboards are built like tanks, as if they were expected to survive a bomb blast, which I'm sure they could, and these are no exception. They use a heavy steel back panel, steel mounting plate, and a thick plastic top case, yielding a total weight of 2 kilos, which is impressive to say the least. The back panel, which is electroplated too by the way, weighs over 900 grams just on its own, which is frankly ridiculous, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could use it as an improv frying pan or at least as a murder weapon. To put that into context a little bit more, one of those Apple aluminium keyboards, including a full-size one like this one, weighs less than 550. I mean, what? The coiled cable is incredibly thick, 7.5 millimeters, one of the thickest cables I've seen from this period. It's ridiculous. I mean, geez, what did they think was going to happen to it? It's also fixed in place and comes out at the side for some reason, which is why I had to cut holes in the sides of all my Zenith keyboard boxes because otherwise they won't fit. It's a bit of a pain in the rear, but at the same time it kind of adds to their badassery somehow, because let's be honest, they're badass looking motherfuckers. A pretty cool feature of these models is the flip-out feet, which are spring-loaded, and they can be flipped in or out without having to turn over the keyboard, which is nice. They're very sturdy, and I wish other keyboards had something like it as well, as it's a really nice and robust system. So overall, these are really well built, definitely an A+ for construction quality. Nice. The best thing about the case has to be the badge though. The AT one uses a really cool Zenith Data Systems badge with silver lettering on beige plastic. Basically it's identical to the badge on the later ZKB2. But the XT one rules supreme as it uses a black metal badge with silver and gold lettering. I mean, all old Zeniths had fantastic badges, they must have had a great marketing department, but this one is in a class of its own. It's even better than the black metal IBM badge. Damn! Interestingly, the badges are all the same size, so they're interchangeable, so I use an XT badge on the Zenith I use at work. I mean, is this a good look, or what? I've been tempted to have a reproduction run of these badges made because they're so cool, but it's not cheap to do so unfortunately. The keycaps are dye-sublimed PBT on the earlier models and double-shot ABS on the later ones. As it happens, both of these have the PBT keycaps, although it's pretty rare to see it on the AT models, as usually the XT ones that have them. PBT doesn't shine up as easily and it doesn't yellow, but ABS sounds a bit better in my opinion. Regardless, both are excellent caps. All models had ABS spacebars though. The layout is slightly different between the two. A few keys like the tilde, backslash and scroll lock keys have been juggled around, but the most important differences are that the AT model has a system request key, which was introduced on the PC AT and therefore had no place on an XT class machine, hence why it's missing. And the XT model has a numpad enter, which is missing on the AT model, which is really a shame because I really like a numpad enter. Both models, and in fact even the later ZKB2, came with a small big-ass enter, often called a medium-ass or slim-ass enter, in which the top portion is only 1 unit wide instead of the more common 1.5 units. It allows for a larger right bracket key, which I really have no idea what the point of was because it seems rather arbitrary. It's not bad, but I'd rather just have a big-ass enter, to be honest. And then there's the switches. Even between all these excellent features, the switches are possibly the standout feature. With very few exceptions, all 4 Zenith brothers came with linear Alps switches, either green or yellow ones. The older Z-150s, including to my knowledge basically all PBT keycap ones, came with green Alps, and the later ones, starting around 1990, came with yellow Alps, which are a little bit stiffer. I'll be talking about those in more detail in a later video. Green Alps are outstanding linear switches. Before I tried Green Alps, I didn't like linears at all, but these are weighted perfectly and they feel delicious. They're smooth, when in good condition at least. If they're dirty or heavily used, they feel like shit, and there's even a hint of tactility as the slider clears the switch plate, which isn't really noticeable as a tactile event, but it helps break up the usual monotony of linear switches. Just everything about this key feel is excellent in my opinion, and it's not only great to type on, but apart from the funky layout, it's also perfectly suited to gaming, especially since all models came with N-key rollover. Green Alps are the oldest switch in the SKCL SKCM series, and they share a feature that's also very prominently present on the older SKCC series of switches. They ping a lot. It's not quite as bad as the MO110 or the Ping Master, which both use these older SKCC switches. But it's still pretty bad on these old Zeniths, and the chassis amplifies it too, so they're not exactly silent keyboards, but overall I'd say it's still a great typing noise. Of course, linear switches give no auditory or tactile feedback when you're typing, so they put in a piezo electric beeper which goes off every time you press a key. It's not the most invasive beeper I've ever heard in a keyboard, but it goes berserk if you keep a key pressed down, which most other beepers don't, and it distracts from the great sound that the switches make, so I tend to turn it off, which you can do with Alt Escape, by the way. So, all in all, this keyboard has excellent keycaps, outstanding build quality, and the switches are just yummy. Yummy. And it's even good looking too, especially with that badge. I mean, what's not to love here? That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.